Hi, welcome back to my channel in All Seasons Homestead. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a garbanzo bean soup, and I'm also going to make homemade tortillas on the side, fry some banana peppers, make homemade queso fresco, and then serve it with some sliced avocado. This is a really simple recipe. One thing that needs to be done is the garbanzos take a while to cook. I soak my garbanzo beans or chickpeas overnight, or I start them early in the morning and cook them on low heat. It takes 3 to 4 hours until they're soft, and then you can start making the rest of the things. Okay, so in the early morning, I started their garbanzos, and they're very soft. And next, I'm going to add to that some chicken broth. Now, this has been cooked all morning, like I said, with just water, garlic, and salt. So now I'm going to add a little bit of yesterday's chicken broth. You can cook them in all of chicken broth if you would like, but I just do mainly water and chicken broth. Another thing I do is put a bay leaf. Then I'll start to heat that back up because it's been turned off for a couple of hours. Okay, the next thing we need to do is slice up some onions and tomatoes and get that ready to start frying them. And here is what I have left over from the garden. I picked all these green tomatoes before the last frost, and they're turning red. So preferably for this recipe, I like to use the Romas. So we'll pick out about maybe 5 Romas. Okay, we are going to slice these Roma tomatoes. They can be diced or sliced. That one was not a Roma, but that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna put the sliced Romas on a plate to get them out of the way. Off those extra seeds. Then I'm going to cut about half of this onion. It's about a softball size. And again, I'm going to slice the onion. And before I started slicing up the tomatoes, I turned on my skillet to get it warmed up. So once your skillet is all heated up, you'll want to add some oil or lard, whatever fat that you have on hand. This is lard. then I usually fry the onions first, and then the tomatoes last. I add the tomatoes later on because they start getting all mushy. While the onions are cooking and sauteing, I'm going to add a couple of diced garlic to this as well. Okay, once the onion gets about halfway cooked, I would say, then I go ahead and add the tomatoes. Look at that, I didn't even get that one. Okay, now as I wait for the tomato and onion to cook for a little bit, I am going to pull over my milk. And I brought about a gallon of milk up to room temperature just to speed up the process a little faster. And this is going to be the queso fresco. Now, queso fresco is just a soft, crumbly, Mexican type fresh cheese. If you want to make this recipe even more simple, you can just make the garbanzo bean soup and buy your queso fresco. We source local raw milk, so we try to make our queso fresco pretty often. So as I'm going to cook the tomato and onion, I'll also be heating up the milk. Get as much done at the same time as possible, because even though it's a simple dinner, there's still a lot of little things to make on the sides. So somebody in the comment sections asked if I could share how I cook our beans or some uses for beans, and this is one simple frugal meal that I make at least once a month. And I will either do the same process with garbanzos or the yellow split peas. And it's just absolutely one of my favorite foods. I get really excited when I make the yellow split pea soup. This is not a creamy soup. I guess you'll just have to wait and see. It's just a very filling soup by the time you get all your sides on. So for a little while, you'll just be stirring your milk every few minutes. Don't let it stick, don't let it burn. It takes a while to heat up, but towards the end, you really want to watch it. And the vegetables just have a few more minutes to cook. Okay, at this point, the vegetables are nice and cooked. So I'm going to do a little switch of the pans. I'm going to bring back the garbanzos. And then add the cooked tomato and the onion. Give that a little stir. And then I will let this simmer for a little while and just keep an eye on it. But that's what it looks like so far. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do as the milk heats up is get some banana peppers ready. And these are the teeny tiny little banana peppers that were left right before the frost. All summer we've had really long ones, very beautiful, but this is all we have left. So what you want to do is just make a small cut in these, so when you fry them in a little oil, they don't pop and break and spit their juices or oil at you. And you could also slice these up and put them in the soup as well. But I like to kind of fry them in oil and get them blackened. And then at the end, I will put these in the soup. Okay, I'm going to use my same pan that I fried the vegetables in. I just wiped it out a little bit. I'm going to put that on the back burner. And you can put your oil or your fat of your choice. Looks like I ran out of lard, so instead of going downstairs and getting more, I'm just going to put a little olive oil in the pan. Now, I know there's a lot going on, but the garbanzo beans are basically done. They're just going to sit here and simmer. The milk is only at 140, and I want to get that up to over 165. Sometimes I use a thermometer, sometimes I don't. I wait for that frothy look on top. But for now, since there's other things going on, I'm just going to keep that thermometer in the pot just to kind of glance at it quicker. And as this pan heats up for the banana peppers, I'm going to put this skillet on to get heated up for the tortillas. Now, usually I use a long rectangle pan that goes from the front burner to the back burner, but this is way before dinner time, so I'm just going to make a few on a little skillet and remake some more tortillas for dinner. So if you do decide to buy tortillas or buy queso fresco, I think the meal would be a lot more simple. But if you are doing several different things at one time, you can focus on one item at a time if having 4 skillets is a little overwhelming. Because next we're going to make the tortillas as the peppers are sizzling and popping away. So I'm not going to make too many right now. Like I said, I'll make some more later for dinner. I'm used to putting, I don't know, 3 or 4 cups of corn flour, masa corn flour. I think I'm going to try to do 1.5 cups. So you just want to take your corn flour, and what I do is I set my bowl down in the sink, and I need to add about a teaspoon of salt. And you want to use warm or hot water for this. Not too hot, you don't want to burn your hands, but warm water. That water took so long to heat up that I went and stirred the peppers. Okay, so you want to take your water and start mixing the masa corn flour. And I usually keep my bowl down in the sink because I just add water little by little. I always feel like I'm adding too much, and then I quickly see that it's very dry. So I will leave it down in the sink, add water as I need, and then once I get the shape that I want, then I'll take it to the table and start kneading it. And that is almost what I want. Just very soft, but not sticky. Okay, I'm gonna leave that to rest for a little while, maybe just 10-15 minutes. Let it rest here. So before we start the tortillas, while it's resting, just check on the peppers. And that is what I like right there. That dark pepper, dark colored pepper on one side. Flip them. Get the other side done. Shouldn't be too long now. And the milk is at almost 170. So anywhere at this point, I will take it off the heat. I think I'm gonna let it get a little more frothy on top. As I wait for the temperature of the milk to rise a little bit more, I brought over my tortilla supplies. I have a cast iron tortilla press, and you'll want to get a couple of pieces of plastic. I just took a gallon bag and cut it, and I have 2 pieces from either side of the gallon bag, and you'll want to line your bottom and your back of your tortilla press. Now if you don't have a tortilla press, you can definitely use a rolling pin or a plate, squish it down, roll it out, but this makes it really fast and easy if you need to make a lot of tortillas. And then I also have a linen bag. I actually bought these for homemade bread, but I did not like them for the bread. The bread got dried out super fast, but these make the best tortilla bags. So now I'm going to turn off the heat for the peppers. I'm going to get a quick check on the beans. So that definitely needs a little more time. I want to see the tomatoes make a little bit more of a red color. So we won't add the peppers quite yet. Maybe 5 more minutes or so. Okay, now this is getting a little more frothy. I don't know if you can see that. And the temperature is still about 171, 172. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat. And then I'm going to move it clear off the stove. Okay, so after the corn flour's been sitting there resting for a little while, 10 to 15 minutes at least, you want to make, I'd say, a golf ball size. It can be a little bigger. You just don't want it to squish out the sides of your tortilla press. So you'll have your plastic down, you put your ball, plastic on top, and give it a nice press. Okay, the fun part of making the queso fresco, you need either vinegar, animal rennet, or lemons. And I always have vinegar. It seems to work the easiest for me. And I never measure, but I'm thinking it might be about 3 tablespoons until the milk separates. So we'll see if I'm right, or I might need a little more. So I'll just pour in a little bit and stir. Pour a little bit more and stir. And now I can start to see separation. So about 2 tablespoons. I think I'm going to stop there. And then I'll stir for a few minutes, or not a few minutes, just briefly, until it's all separated. Okay, I'm going to switch spoons so I can scoop this a little better. Now, you can squish all the extra juice out or leave it a little bit more juicy. But the one thing we need to do is let it cool off for a little bit and add some salt. And then you can form it or crumble it. I usually just leave it crumbled because that's how we're going to eat it anyway. And at this point, we're almost done. So now I'm going to go ahead and add all my peppers. And then let that cook for a few more minutes, and then finish the tortillas. I decided to get my other pan out. Even though I'm not making enough for a whole dinner, I just thought if I go ahead and make a few, then it'd be a lot faster. So once you flip your tortilla, you want to get a nice puff like that. And once it gets puffed, take it off the heat. Okay, the last thing to do, since the tortillas are done, is just check on the soup. And to me, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. The peppers are done cooking in the middle, and it's a nice color. And I'm sure it'll continue to cook for a little while in the Dutch oven. So then we need to salt the queso fresco. And I usually put a couple of big teaspoons of salt. And then I'll just work it down in there. If it's all the way cooled off, sometimes I'll make it early, stick it in the refrigerator, and then I can use my hands. But it is still quite hot. But I still have time before dinner because, as I said, I'm making this early. So as this cools off, I'll probably mix it one more time with my hands just to make sure all that salt is mixed thoroughly. Okay, I think that's all for tonight's dinner. So we made the garbanzo bean soup, we made the queso fresco, homemade tortillas, chili peppers on the side. I think the only thing left I need to do is slice some avocado, and I'll show you how I put it all together and serve it. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.